The Dallas Mavericks versus Boston Celtics will face off Thursday night in game one of the NBA Finals. Boston will be competing for their 18th title in NBA history. If they get number 18, it will make them the most winningest franchise in league history when it comes to NBA titles, finally breaking the tie between the Lakers and them, which they have shared since I think 2020. So this is kind of like definitely a tiebreaker series for the Celtics. They get this title, they can reclaim being the most winningest franchise when it comes to championships in NBA history again. They would be back on top of the throne. Now, this is the third time the Dallas Mavericks are going to the NBA Finals. They have been there previously twice. They lost in 2006 against Miami and then beat them in 2011. This is, I would say, going to be one of those series that can determine legacies on both sides, to be honest. Luka is still young, but if he can somehow win this series, this definitely helps elevate him above his peers in his current generation. That would be Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum. I'm trying to think of some others, Shea, and I'm sure there are a few others I'm not naming right now, but you get my drift. It would place him above those guys if he wins the title. Heck, I think it would place him above even Joel Embiid if he gets the title. This would just definitely distinguish him for sure. So if you're Luka, you definitely want to get this. It's huge if he can get this. But when it comes to this matchup, I would say this. I've looked at both box scores from this year. These teams faced each other once in January. This was before Dallas got Gafford and PJ Washington. In that game, the Celtics beat the Mavericks 119 to 110. And I think this was in Dallas. So they won by like 9 points. In this game, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum played great. Tatum had like 39 points. Brown had 34. They went off. And Luka had an okay game, 33 points, but only on 40% shooting. Kyrie, just an average shooting game, also 23 points on 45% shooting, but nothing else really stood out in this game, I would say, really, for the most part. I would say that, let me just look here. Mavs shot a mediocre 44% overall from the field in that game, so the Celtics defense was good. Celtics shot slightly above 46%, but Porzingis did not play in this game, so obviously they weren't at full strength and they still beat the Mavericks. The Mavericks then lost to the Celtics again when they played them in March. This is when they first got Gafford and PJ Washington. In this game, Luka had a great game, 37 points on 56% shooting, while Kyrie only scored 19 on 39% shooting. So a terrible game for Kyrie. And then Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown had great games again, where they both shot above 50%. Tatum with 32 points, Jaylen Brown with 25 points. In this game, Kristaps actually played. He had 24 points, which was huge. And the Celtics blew out the Mavericks in this game, 138 to 110. Granted, I'll give Dallas a pass for getting blown out in this game because they're still trying to get their chemistry and feeling each other out at this point in time. So they were freshly, I would say, a new team in that regard. But the Celtics owned them in this game. I feel the biggest issue with the Mavericks in the series will actually be Kyrie. I don't think Luka can be stopped by anybody of the Celtics. I actually don't think the Celtics are going to try to aggressively stop Luka. I think if anything, they're going to go after Kyrie because they have the guards to do it. They have Derek White. They have Jrue Holiday. They even have Pritchard off the bench that can be a pest for him in the short minutes he's guarding him. So they have three guards which they could just run at him and just continue to harass him. And then Jaylen Brown can help out every now and then, who's a super athletic guard that you could stick on Kyrie. So that's what I think they're going to go after aggressively. All those guys are just going to wear him down over a 7-game series, and I think he will break down. I think it'll be hard for him to be great every game, and I think the Mavericks actually need him to be great every game to win this series. That's a huge reason why I see the Mavericks losing this series. Now with Luka, I don't know how they're going to guard him. I think they'll have Tatum guard him at times or Jaylen Brown, but I don't see them really trying to stop him. I think they're going to dare him to be a guy who scores 40 points a game in the series and see how that works out. Luka, I think, will play great regardless of what happens. I think with Luka, you're damned if you do. If you double team him, he's always going to find guys open for layups or dunks. You play him single coverage, he's going to go out off. So it's not really about containing him. I think Kyrie's the guy that they're going to contain. And then you throw in Porzingis. I think that just opens up just everything for Boston. It makes it so much harder for the Mavericks to guard Boston, in the sense that they only have, I would say, PJ Washington, who they probably will stick on Tatum, and Derrick Jones Jr., who they'll put on Brown, but they don't have swarms of guys to throw at Brown and Tatum. If any of those guys get into foul trouble, Washington or Jones, they'll be in a world of pain. I don't think Tim Hardaway Jr. will be able to do anything off the bench. Granted, he's been hurt throughout the playoffs. He hasn't had a major role, but it wouldn't surprise me if they play him more in the series. Josh Green, he's a good, solid young player. I actually do like him. I don't think he's going to be able to hinder either Tatum or Jaylen Brown if he has to guard them off the bench. I just don't see an easy solution for them. They have Jalen Hardy, again, a good, solid player off the bench, but I just don't see him slowing down those guys. So I expect Tatum and Jaylen Brown to get easily above 20 apiece. Now, Porzingis, you don't know because he's come back from the injury, but I think even with coming off this injury, he can get you a solid double-double a game, and that's all I think they need from him. He could just be enough to help defend guys like Lively and Gafford from getting easy dunks and putbacks and whatnot. I think he's going to be a disruptor in that regard. So I think it's easier for Boston to guard the Mavericks top guys versus the Mavericks guarding the Celtics top guys. Now, will I give Dallas this? Dallas does have a superior bench compared to Celtics. They're much deeper there, so I'll give them that edge. Granted, now with the Celtics getting Porzingis back, I think Al Horford going to their bench helps a lot for the Celtics. It makes their bench at least decent with him coming off the bench. That's one thing I'll say. I do have the Celtics winning this series in 6 games. There you have it. Celtics will get number 18, to the discomfort of Laker fans. I'm definitely going to enjoy those tears, and that's all I have to say.